You know, I mean, I was watching MSNBC all day, Chris, and there were a couple of experts on these right-wing groups saying this guy was known to authorities. He went to jail in the 80s for an assault on, I think, the Federal Reserve Bank. This is not a lone wolf who has never come into contact or publicly expressed his hateful views. He published a book. I mean, you know, I think that there's a certain amount of surveillance that would have been wise. How somebody like that gets a gun when he used a gun in his prior crime, all these things I think should be looked at. I support the Second Amendment, but I think guns are too easy to get. All these things will come into play. And I will say, you know, I do hope that some conservatives stand up. I don't blame them. I don't blame mainstream Republicans by any means for this. I want to be clear. But they could help in ratcheting down some of the rhetoric. When Bill Riley goes on TV every night and calls Dr. Tiller a baby killer and a Nazi and a Mengele and shows where he works, why do we put up with that? Why is that entertainment in our culture? Demonizing a private citizen for doing a lawful job. Why are people doing that? Why is that acceptable? I would like to see a debate about that.
In the Week in Review from the Ingram Angle segment tonight, two scorching topics. As you just heard, the far left wants pictures that might lead to violence against our military to be released, but these same people criticize me and others for telling the truth about the murdered late-term abortion Dr. George Tiller. One of the most extreme in that regard is this woman, Joan Walsh, the editor of the committed left website, Salon.
When Bill Riley goes on TV every night and calls Dr. Tiller a baby killer and a Nazi and a Mengele and shows where he works, why do we put up with that? Why is that entertainment in our culture? Demonizing a private citizen for doing a lawful job.
Private citizen sounds like an insurance salesman. Now, we asked Ms. Walsh to appear tomorrow, as we did with Barney Frank, and we hope she will. By the way, I should say, for you far-left loons out there, here's something very interesting. You know, the guy who murdered the security guard at the Holocaust Museum has me listed on his website as a bad guy. Joining us now from Washington to analyze this and the Letterman-Palin controversy, Fox News star and radio talk show host, Laura Ingraham. All right, you can pretty much take this where you want to take it, but I think that in the last few weeks we have seen the left being as hypocritical as I've ever seen them, you know, in my entire time on the planet.
Well, I know, and that's just a few years, Bill. So, look, Joan Walsh, so I did a little research for you, okay, tonight. Joan Walsh, this was in 2005, in a Q&A with the Columbia Journalism Review, she justified what Salon had done to that reporter, Jeff Gannon, that White House reporter who Salon published accounts of as outing his sexuality, I guess, because of who he was or what he was doing or what he wasn't saying to the White House. And she said, well, look, it was justified because the White House wasn't very forthcoming in information it was giving reporters, and apparently it didn't even know who this Jeff Gannon was, and he was a fraud, blah, blah, blah. So, look, let's be very clear. The left uses, quote, hateful rhetoric when the left thinks it's justified. So the left on MSNBC will call President Bush a war criminal, a liar, the most hateful comments about people like Karl Rove, et cetera, et cetera. But when these comments are directed by you, about you, or at people like Rush Limbaugh, as this Joan Walsh character did last night, then it's just, well, they deserved it because they have a different view than the liberal left-wing elite.
But
so
it also goes further than that.
Nobody cares.
It goes further than that. My analysis about Tiller surrounds human rights. Simple as that, human rights.
It's correct.
And in your opinion, it's correct. But look, if somebody disagrees with me, that's fine. But we're reporting on human rights here, okay? That's what we're doing. In the military thing that you just heard, there's no doubt. Everybody knows these pictures are out. Our men and women overseas are in more danger. There's no doubt. So
yeah, they don't care, Bill.
But that's right. They care about their left-wing concerns. But as you pointed out, once they disagree with you, then you're a villain.
No, you're fair game. So you can say anything you want about Carrie Prejean, you can say anything you want, and we'll get to Sarah Palin, anything they want about you, anything they want about, you know, people, hosts, radio hosts, who disagree with them, okay? And then they'll take it a step further, Bill. They'll link you or me or people they disagree with vile, violent acts that everyone roundly condemns. I mean, I don't think you or I were out there saying that the Muhammad character who killed Private William Andy Long Monday before last that he was a left-wing hate guy, right? Even though he was whipped up into a frenzy of anti-Western, anti-military sentiment, and who knows? I don't know what websites he read,
well, sure.
but I don't frankly care. He's a killer.
You could make that argument if you wanted to get into that.